So I'd just like to introduce Elesha to you. Elesha is our Ranui Baptist Community Care Trust Manager, a role that she's been in for about 18 months. The Trust, as you know, is an extension to the church, particularly in terms of a lot of the community ministries and so on that we have. And in that 18 months that Elesha's been with us, she's really put the Church Trust on the map in a more significant way than perhaps we had been previously. A lot of that was done through the floods that occurred earlier this year when, working with us obviously, but we opened the doors of the church up for people to sleep. Elesha and the team kind of organised everything around people in terms of the care that they needed, food and so on and so forth. And as a result of that work, we're invited down into the Hawke's Bay to help them out as a result of the flooding and so on that happened down there. Elesha is a mum. So she's got two very busy jobs. She's a mother and our trust manager. She also comes, along with her own Christian faith, a strong pedigree of Christian people. Her grandfather was the Anglican Archbishop of Auckland, and her father was an evangelist. And so, and someone else was a pastor in the AG. So she can fill in the gaps that I haven't. But I just want to introduce you to Elesha and hand over to you and say, and also, just on behalf of the church at this point, say thank you very much for the work that you are doing and your team have been doing. It's just wonderful, so thank you.
Cool. Thank you. I guess firstly, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to share exactly what we do. It's kind of funny because during the week, people refer to us as being the Ranui Baptist, and I'm like, no, we're actually the Ranui Baptist Community Care with a Trust. However, we work in hand with the church, or we have the same beliefs, and I feel like that partnership is definitely there. And it's growing. Pastor Graham's been awesome. Like Rob said, I've been here for about 18 months. It's definitely been a journey. I didn't know what I was stepping into, that's for sure. No 2 days are the same. I'm just going to go really, really briefly just mention a couple of the services that we have, because I'm not sure if everybody here are aware of what we offer. So firstly, we've got Mainly Music. That's a program designed for babies, toddlers and their parents. It's on a Thursday morning. I feel like I'm doing notices. We've got an op shop. So that's currently only open on the Tuesday. We've got a food bank. It relies heavily on the donations of our sponsors. We've seen over the last few years especially a huge demand on the food bank. In some areas, I guess the food bank is just somewhere where someone's referred to or they come out of desperation. What I've found too is it's also a place of outreach, whether people know it or not. So they come in, first of all, you come into a building that's filled with the anointing or that presence. That's the first outreach point. Secondly, when they come in, you get to know these people, and some of them have crazy past. Some of them's just going through a moment, and you get to just become their friend. You get to minister to them in ways that you didn't think was possible, maybe. And so it's not just food that we do. We've got the amazing volunteer, Owen, and man, I can give it up to you, Owen. Owen volunteers, I swear, it's probably about 40 hours a week of his time here. He goes out faithfully, he picks up all our deliveries and comes here, and then he's so pedantic. We've set him up with an office now. So thank you, Owen. It's awesome. We've got our budgeting and financial services. So we've got Glenn, we've got Ella and Graham. I can't see them here. Oh, he's here. Hi, Graham. And they do an amazing job working with some of the clients that come in. We've got our transitional housing, which is another whole chapter. It's interesting. You see people who are effectively homeless. They've reached the end of the road, they don't know where to go, maybe they've been kicked out, maybe they've got addictions, which we've had to deal with, and they literally have nowhere to go, but they've got kids and they've got a family. So we get some referrals through MSD, through Work and Income, and we also get some people self-referring themselves in. with these people, when they come into our service, we tend to walk closely beside them. Now, there's a lot of red tape because this is a government type project, and in government you don't see pray for them. You don't have anything like that. So this is our opportunity to kind of just maneuver it the way we want. And we offer prayer. We sit with the guys. We pray for them whether they like it or not behind their back. But yeah, there is a huge shortage. There's apparently 3,000 people in Auckland alone that are on a waiting list, that are waiting for housing of some sort. And we have 16 homes. There is a relatively high turnover, so someone could be in a home for 3 months before we're able to get them into a sustainable long-term place. And then we've got others that have been there for a couple of years. And it depends too on their needs, the complexity of, what's going on within their family. We've got a couple of families at the moment that have had a full family meltdown. So it's not just straightforward, this is your tenancy agreement. It's actually sitting with them, how can I help you? And sometimes they just want to come in and talk, which is cool. We'll sit down, we'll talk, we'll pray for them and talk more. We've just started collaborating with another organisation. Well, actually we haven't just started, but we're going to even more, called the Awhi Shed. So we'll have a social worker on board, which will be awesome. She's born again, she's Christian as well. Hopefully you'll get to see her. And then I guess we've had the community-led civil defence centre during the floods. And that was both up here in Auckland and Napier. So I'm going to touch on that shortly. But what I wanted to do before I did that is I wanted to share a dream with you that I had. So before actually getting this job, I was studying law, and I was kind of like, I don't really know if I want to work yet. I kind of want to finish my degree. And so I kind of prayed about it. And I came for the interview. The interview went all right. And when I got home that night, I had, I guess you can call it a nightmare dream. And what it was, there was a very small island. And in the middle of the island, I might have shared this with a few of you, but in the middle of the island, it was just like this huge mountain. It was dark, it was stormy, and there were people everywhere scrambling, trying to get up to the top of the mountain. And what I saw is, I don't know if you've seen like a scary movie or something, black shadows, like black outlines. I couldn't see the people, but I could see their black outlines. And it's like they were crawling through the mud and the grass and holding onto the trees. It was just dense, wet bush. And they were crawling. And at the top of the hill, like all the houses were gone. There was nothing. But these people lived on the island. There was nowhere out. You couldn't get anywhere. There were no boats. At the top of the mountain, there was a church. And the church had this light at the top that just kind of circulated. And it reminded me of a lighthouse. And during that time, I woke up and I was thinking, and I was asking God, like, what's this about? Like, what? And what I kind of saw was within Ranui, and this might sound a bit cheesy, but within Ranui, I kind of felt like when people hit rock bottom and you got nowhere to go, you don't know what you're doing, people seem to turn to God as their last resort. And during that time, I saw it as, us, the church being the lighthouse, God being the lighthouse in the community. And I felt like I could be a part of that, or I wanted to be a part of that. I didn't want to be one of those guys trying to crawl up there. So I took the job. It's interesting, though, because during the floods, when I was writing this out last night, actually a couple of days ago. I keep changing what I'm going to say. But I was writing it out last night, and as I was reflecting, and I was like, whoa, I had this dream, and at that point, it meant, like, 'cause we would have people that would show up sometimes outside, and they were just needing clothing. They were just needing food. We've had a few people, come up with holes in their arms because they're addicted to something. Not everything we can help them with, but we can pray. And that was what I thought my dream was about. But reflecting on it last night, and as I was writing things down, I was like, the floods. This is so relevant to the floods. What happened during the floods? I left here and I was on my way home. Would have been about 20 minutes. The next minute, my phone's going crazy. Elesha, people need somewhere to go. Elesha, can you open up the church? And I'm like, I just left 20 minutes ago. What are you on about? Then I told them to send me photos because I didn't believe them. And they sent me photos, and literally I saw the waters like, almost a couple metres high. And I said, okay. So I rang up to see who was at work, and I said, let's just open the doors. Can we do this? I think someone got permission from the board. Did they? Yep, they go. Just making sure. We got permission from the board to open the doors. And I think from that moment, it was so weird. I've actually got some photos out the back. So when this is done, if you want to have a look, go through there and have a look. There's actually a screenshot that I've put on there, and it's from a guy called Dan Collins. He's from the Massey Henderson local board. And in that it says, if you have nowhere to go, if you need food, if you need shelter, if you need this and that, come down to Ranui Baptist. They've just opened the doors for you. And I thought, well, this is government, that's council. They've recognised us at that very start as being the place to go to. People in the community, some of them, they've never interacted with us before, but when they've lost their houses just down the road, the only place that they could think of was a church building. Civil Defence hadn't opened during that time. And I am so blessed with the team that we have, the security guards. I think we had a few from church come down. Everybody was just so giving, so loving. They just came. They opened up. I think Mary and John, they got the food bank open. They started cooking. I think it was hot pies and sausage rolls. We had the tea. We had biscuits. Everything was just here. We were ready, and we didn't even know it. We didn't even know what we were ready for. That night, it got a bit hectic. People just kept coming. They kept coming. And, when you're going through a really traumatic time, I feel that when they came in, we decided it was just love on them. Like, what do you need? Come inside. Do you want to have a shower? Let's not talk about what's just gone on. Let's not talk about the paperwork. Let's not give you a form to sign and say, name, date of birth. Let's screw that. Let's just sit down and see how you are. And that's what happened that night. And then Civil Defence Centres actually opened out in Kelston. But what we were finding is that people out in Kelston didn't want to stay there because it was very rigid. So they would come here. And when they came here, they were greeted with that same passion, that love for people. We ended up getting chefs come down. And the chefs started cooking meals, just what we had in the food bank. Now, food bank's been struggling. Like, we're always asking for donations. But I tell you, during that time, just being obedient to God and opening our doors and saying, God, we need food. Like, we've got how many people outside? I don't know how we're going to feed them. I tell you, it was like miracle after miracle, God's favour. And just stepping out and saying, God, yep, let's do this. This is what you want me to do. Let's do it. Open the doors, let the people come in, let's feed them. And I can't believe it. Like, it was crazy. Food came from every angle. We had run out of room to put the food. In fact, we were actually taking food down to Hub West and other organisations that were helping people during that time. There was such an abundance in food. And I'm not just talking food, there was clothing, there was blankets, all the stuff that we didn't have or we've struggled as a trust to gather ourselves for our current existing clients during that time, just being obedient and saying, hey, we're going to open the doors, we're going to dedicate ourselves for people to God. It was crazy. Just everything we needed was provided. There was one night, actually, in particular, there was a medical emergency, and we managed to get through the night. I actually personally wasn't there. Liel was there. Managed to get through the night, and she texts me, and she's like, I really think we need a doctor. He doesn't want to go to hospital, but I think we need a doctor. Something's not right. I was like, all right, so have you asked the man upstairs? He's like, no. I was like, well, let's go ask him. It felt like we had a direct dial, seriously. So that night we prayed. 8 o'clock in the morning, this lovely doctor walks in and says, I felt like God told me to come here. Can I help you in any way? And I mean, that's awesome, eh? And she was able to go see him. Then next minute, we needed some supplies, some medical supplies. There were certain prescriptions and whatnot that she needed. And I'm like, all right, God, reckon you got this one? Ask God. The guy from the pharmacy walks over with this huge box of just little bits and bobs and medicines and medical stuff. I don't know what it is, but stuff that we needed apparently. And the doctor was there to administrate it all. And it was just one thing after the other. We didn't have to struggle. And it was just, I guess it's just amazing. You know, you open yourself up and you say, all right, I'm going to do this. I think I even brought my kids in, my poor kids. I've got 6 children, by the way. My eldest is 14, my youngest is 4. And my poor kids came and slept in the office on mattresses. I mean, we created a marae here. No, but one thing I learned, you know, just taking a step back, perhaps, is God's authority. He puts his authority on you and you own it. You walk in it, you'll achieve things that you never thought were possible, right? So in my job, I never thought that we were going to be a civil defence centre or have anything to do with that. We opened the doors, it kind of just happened. Whether I liked it or not, God gave me no choice. Just being obedient to him. So anyway, we were given so much in donations. We needed mattresses. We called around. Most people didn't really want to help us, which is all right. And then suddenly a local marae came through and they gave us 80 mattresses. We were only looking for like 10. So when I say abundance, I mean abundance. They came down, we set the beds up. We had some mattresses already set up from our transitional housing, which is really awesome. We set up the mattresses. We had a lot of MPs come through. It really put us on the map. We had the media come through, a lot of other organisations. And it's interesting because these organisations, some of them, I'm not going to name them, but some of them are really, really well known and they are big organisations. Yet during this time, a lot of them were closed or unable to help because they had procedures to go through. They didn't have policies that allowed them to call up their staff and say, hey, I need you on site now. It was very rigid. And what we had here was just, hey, I want to help people. Can I come? What can I do? We had trouble getting rid of people. They just wanted to stay. We were like, no, go home. Even our volunteers, the chefs were absolutely amazing. We started, just feeding people off the bat to start with. And the next minute, we're doing breakfast, lunch, dinner. And these meals were like full on 3-course meals. You had sort of I don't know about an entree, but yeah, you had a few sides. You had the main, and you even got dessert. And you know what? Most of that stuff was just given to us. We didn't have to go out searching for it. And the chefs just came in and did their thing. From that's how we got the community meals. We couldn't get rid of them, so we continued the dinners. And then I said, okay, guys, this is like every day. I'm getting home at like 10 o'clock at night. We started doing the dinners, and then we moved it to once a month. Then now it's once every 2 months. So I think I heard Rob announce that we've got our next Christmas dinner on Tuesday, which will be awesome. Actually, I'll just quickly share about that. The idea that we're going to have on Tuesday is to bring the community together. And what I'm trying to do or trying to create is not just a trust that works with communities and families. What I actually want to do is throw away that whole corporate type feeling and I want to create a family, or just people trusting people. So if the weather's good, I'd love to have it outside, and I'd love to adapt the concept of having one long table. And the idea of that is everybody from whatever walk in life comes along, you sit down as one family around the table and have a meal. And I feel that, if it rains, we'll do it inside some way, somehow. It doesn't matter. But that's my real dream for us here. I just want that love, God's love, to just flow and continue overflowing out of us and into people's lives and just touch them. And create that unity, that real strong unity. Anyway, after the floods happened up here, we got a call saying, hey, it's real bad down in Hawke's Bay. They need help, and apparently you guys know what you're doing. I looked at Leo and I'm like, we know what we're doing. We just kind of okay. Anyway, prayed about it. I think we held a meeting the next day and we said, shall we do it? Are we going? Yeah, okay. And we decided we're going to pack up and go down to Hawke's Bay and do exactly what we did here. We were going to teach the church how to rise up in an occasion that's unexpected and just love. Just do it. So we ended up packing up a lot of the stuff that we had here that was in excess. We took, about 50 mattresses down. We filled 2 trucks, a Jeep, and we drove all the way down to Palmy and then drove all the way up to Napier. We found it was Bay Baptist Church. They gave us the hall. They were not expecting us. We went in, and as soon as their service had finished, we started offloading the trucks and just setting up like exactly how we did here. I mean, we had no experience. We just did what we did here, and what we did here was what we did based on the needs of people that came in. Anyway, we did that down there. We started coordinating things, and things were going quite smoothly. We had families come in and stay with us down there. We started cooking meals. It was going really, really well. It was just tickety-boo. And anyway, we got given this, I think it's 1,000 litre, no, maybe it's 100 litre, I don't know. One of those big as water crate thingies. You know what I mean, container, yeah? Yep, with the frame around it that you can lift up with a hoist or whatever. So we had one of those on the back of my truck. And I was like, oh, well, we didn't need it because we had so much bottled water given to us. We didn't really, and we had buckets of water, and if people wanted to shower, they did have a tap water. It wasn't the greatest water, but it was all right. So I said, there are all these places and remote areas down there that actually need this. Like Napier's just, it was completely different to what's up here. And it was a huge shock. We drove in, and as we're driving in, you literally look on your right, and the houses are fine. They're really nice houses. You actually have kids, like a movie, riding their bicycles along the street. And then you look to your left, and it's just nothing. The houses that were there were just gone. There was no fences, and all you see is mud. Like the ground level's raised about this high, and it's cracked mud. And you see just bits of wood everywhere. It was heartbreaking, but it's like nothing existed there. You were in 2 worlds. You could stand in the middle of the road, 1 foot on each side, and you're in 2 completely different worlds. And it was crazy. We set up down there. We took that bit of water, that container of water. We took it up to the army base because they had like a distribution centre set up there, and the Navy was there running things. We walk in, and I'm like, okay, God, just tell me where I got to go, tell me what I got to do. Walk in, and here I am, okay, Ranui Baptist Community Care. Nobody knows me down there. We get stopped. They have like different not checkpoints, but different points where they stop you and they want to read, your ID and stuff. I don't have an ID. Did that stop me? I walked through and this guy's like, excuse me, what authority do you have to walk through or drive through? And I said, listen, mate, I've just driven down from Auckland. I am so tired. I haven't slept for like 8 hours and you're stopping me? And he goes, well, I need to see some ID. No worries. So I called the guys in the trucks behind me and I'm like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? And they're like, oh, you got this. Okay. So I thought, okay, God, you want me to do this? Give me your authority. I pull out my business card, my Ranui Baptist Community Care card. I said, mate, if you haven't heard of me, here's my card. I need to get through here and I don't have time for you. Like, let me in. I've got my 3 trucks here. What are you doing? You're wasting my time. And he sort of looked at me and he's like, Ranui Baptist Community. Yep, I'm from Auckland. I ran the Civil Defence Centre up in Auckland. Look, you're wasting my time. I need to get through. We've got all these supplies and blah, 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 blah. And he's like, oh my gosh, I'm really, really sorry. Here, I'll let you through. Here, go through. A little church in Ranui, West Auckland. Anyway, we get through to where they're actually putting all the supplies away, and they had the helicopters there. It was literally a couple metres from where we were. And they're just loading up, and I walk in, I'm like, hey, mate, do you know where I can take this water cooler, or will it be of help to anyone? And he kind of, yeah, just chuck it over there, we'll get a fork hoist. And they said, oh, can I have a walk around? Can I just see what's going on? I'm a bit nosy. I said, yeah, sure, go for it. I'll take you around. So he took me for a bit of a tour. And as I'm walking around, like, they had hangars, like actual hangars. I've never been in them before, so it was pretty cool experience. And as I'm walking around, he's explaining how they're taking the goods on pallets and they're delivering it out to the same areas all the time. So then I started questioning him. I was like, why are you taking this pallet to the same marae 3 times a day? Like, it doesn't make sense. Why don't you just take one massive one and then take another one to this marae and this church or this community centre? Like, what you're doing just doesn't make sense. He didn't like that at first because he was the sergeant. He was the big dog. What was his name? I can't think what his name is. Anyway, he goes, oh, well, if you think you can do better. Like I said, God gave me the authority. When I walk in spiritual authority, I own that authority, even though inside I'm scared as heck. So I turned around and I was like, yeah, I can run it. Give Liao a call. I said, actually, I've hired a flood coordinator, just so you know. And she ran the Civil Defence Centre up in Auckland like that. She was awesome. And the people that came through, they were helped. They were actually helped as human beings, not numbers. And he takes me through and he's like, come back at 2 o'clock. I've got the whole team, the leaders, different sergeants, I don't know who, all these important people there. Come back at 2 o'clock. And I said, sweet as, I'll be here. I walked out and my heart's going like this. What have I just done? Call Liao and she's like, what are you doing? Anyway, we go back at 2 o'clock. We sit down and I'm confident as I have no idea what I'm talking about. They're talking about, I don't know, some fancy coordination scheme, blah, blah, blah. Using big words that I have no clue about. Talking about their helicopters. And anyway, I sit there and I'm just like, this is a load of rubbish. You guys don't know what you're doing. You really don't know what you're doing. You've got people here, but you're only taking it to these government organisations and maraes and expecting them to distribute. And I said, you need someone on the ground who's actually going to go out into these communities and help them. And I'm happy. We'll run it. Who are you? Oh, you haven't heard. Here's my card. You haven't heard. I'm Elesha. I'm the trust manager from Ranui Baptist Community Care. And funny enough, that guy had said, oh, I've heard about you guys. Anyway, we ended up getting not a contract. It was an informal verbal contract. There was no time to do actual contracts down there. And we ended up running and taking over the whole distribution centre in Napier. So you just had, we had one of our volunteers we took down, Anaru. So Anaru took down a truck. Donnie actually came down and took down a truck. Myself and Liao, we were in this army distribution centre setting it up. Everything was going really, really well for a while until the local iwis came in and said that they wanted to sort of take over and do stuff. So I felt a lot of tension there, and I started feeling a heavy chest, like a brick was on it, and I said, oh, listen, I don't think that we should be here anymore. I feel like we've done what we needed to do. We've set up, we've done a bit more, but it wasn't my place. But I felt as though Liao still had something to do there, and she felt the same way. So I left, and I went back to the church and continued the distribution there. We had trucks throughout Auckland, just keep coming and delivering goods, clothing, food, everything. And I didn't really need to, I didn't feel like I personally needed to stay there. I'd done my bit. But the churches still were struggling to stand up down there. And I wanted to somehow, and I wasn't quite sure how to do it, somehow encourage them to sort of do what we did up here. Just open your doors, love on people. It doesn't matter if you've got one shower, but we can take turns. It doesn't matter if you have a tiny little kitchenette. Everything's possible. I mean, all right, we've seen that here. Anyway, Liao stayed a bit longer down at the distribution centre, and what happened from there, and she was able to convince the local iwi and convince the army to set up two churches and I think a couple midwives as the full-on distribution centres. And what that did was give authority for the churches to start ministering to people. In the churches, one was in Hawke's Bay and the other one was in Napier. And that was amazing to see. Everybody was like, oh, Ranui Baptist has just opened up this this little outlet at this church and that church, and families just came in. They were greeted with the same thing. The stuff that happened here, if we were going to put our name on it, we were going to have a say. And what the say we had was show love. When these people were greeted, don't wear a badge, don't wear a high vis, just greet them with love. Do you want a cup of tea? Do you want a towel? Do you want to get warm? Do you want to have a shower? Come sit down with us, have a talk, and then we'll assess what's actually going on. It was a whole different story down there. Their needs are way, way bigger than what we've got up here. Massively. They've literally lost everything. And when I say everything, like there were a couple families up here that have lost, they've lost their homes, and we're still dealing with quite a few of them. They've lost all their furniture, their cars. But down there, they've got a lot of orchards, a lot of, cattle farms and stuff like that. And it was really, really heartbreaking just driving down some of the roads and realising that, the water went above their house. They were sitting on their roof, and you see them sort of just going through the fields and throwing the lambs into the ditches, and then picking up the lambs and just loading it in a trailer. It was just, life was gone. It was dead. It was devastation everywhere. Like, they lost their homes, but they also lost their village. They lost the people that they loved and lived next to. They lost their communities. So we're actually really, really fortunate up here that although people lost their homes within the community, we've stayed as a community, which is awesome. It's just been, it's been a massive journey, that trip. And it's just been, I get a little bit emotional when I talk about Napier just because of the nature of what we saw. It's funny though, because when they talk about Ranui Baptist community, the church and the community, the trust, they talk about, like, everybody down there knows about us. And we've heard stories, oh, when we come to Auckland, we're going to come to Ranui and we're going to go to Ranui Baptist Community Church. Where's your church space? Ranui. Ah. Duh. You know. Must be massive. Oh, yeah, pretty big. They don't realise. They're like, whereabouts is Ranui? Oh, it's West Auckland, West Auckland. Oh, true. So it must be like this massive place. I think they feel as though you guys, the church and the trust, are working out of this massive, like, town hall building. But no, we're just this little church in Ranui. But you know what? That little church in Ranui has such a massive name. Maybe physically little, in a little building in the little town of Ranui in West Auckland. But seriously, everybody down there, they all know. You go down and you just say, I'm from Ranui Baptist. Whoa! Are you for real? Like, it's just, it's amazing. It's out of it, actually. Just walking in God's authority. I feel that that's just doing that and just knowing, you know, God wants me to be here, God wants me to do this, and just being obedient to that has just opened doors, exceeded expectations, changed lives substantially. Yeah, that's pretty much the trust in a nutshell. Like, there's lots more. I have, like I said before, I've got a lot of photos there. We've had encouragements from schools. I've got schools we're sending postcards and lovely letters for some of our clients, some of those families affected. We're still working with them. I think I've said that. And we're ready for the next battle. Whatever comes next. It might not be a disaster like this. It could be a supernatural disaster. Who knows? But you know what? Just being obedient, just being here and saying, God, do what you want to do. Just have mercy. No, but, you know, do what you want to do to me. Like, let's do it. We're ready. We're ready. And I thank the team. I really, really thank the team. Without them, I couldn't do it. I can't physically do it. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I like things to be like in line, but I've learnt to just let go. It's all good. God's got me. It's all good. Yeah.
Thanks, Elesha. I just wanted to take a moment to pray for her and for her team. So if you're involved with the trust, could you please stand? I see you up there, Graham, so you can't hide.
That's the trust board too.
Yeah, the trust board as well. So that's a few people from the church. So I'm going to pray, and if they're near you, reach out to them. Lay your hands on them if you can. Maybe you need to move to do that if there's not many people near them as I pray. Father, I thank you so much for Elesha and her team, for bringing her to us in the first place, for Liao as well. Father, I just was in awe of their leadership in amongst of what was a big mess. And Lord, people came and they relaxed and they talked and they cried. And it wasn't just about food and clothing. It was about looking at the person, making time and space for the person. So I thank you for the board, the trust board that are all working so hard. For Owen and the food bank, awesome job. For Graham and Glenn and others in the budgeting and Ella, Lord, there's so many roles that they have in this community. And it's so great that we're working close together. So I thank you for them. And I ask that you bless them now, Lord, as they finish this year and head into next. We don't know what's going to happen, but we know we're prepared and we've got good leadership. So I pray for them now, Lord. Your word says, those who honour me, I will honour. And we honour them today, and we ask for your blessing upon them through the Christmas period and into next year. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.